Okay, I'm getting ready to cut the back of my iPad holder, and what I think I've done wrong here is I cut this too small. I should have, I think you should allow yourself, probably an inch of waste around the perimeter, but I'm going to try and salvage this anyway. So I'm going to put this down. I've got my double stick tape around in various spots, and these little reference marks I made with a pencil are kind of locators for me to get it close anyway. The other thing I want to do is I don't want to go all the way through, so I've measured my board and it's about 0.23, so I'm going to cut it at 0.225 and kind of get an idea where I am. I'll just take my knife and see if I can cut through it. If I can, I'll progress down until I get to the point where I can easily cut through it with a knife, and then I'll just hand sand it. I don't want to cut into this board. Alright, a new update. I air cut it, but I found that because my piece is so small, the router wants to tip off. There's not enough of the base on the workpiece. It's not so bad on the sides. I can hold the one handle down, whichever, depending on whichever side I'm on. But when I got up to the top here, because of the way this router is offset, there's just too much router hanging out over there. So I put a couple, 3 shims to take care of that for me. I've got one on the 3 main sides, the bottom, most of the routers on that. So I think I'm ready to go here and finally get this cut. So the depth or the thickness of the plywood is 0.238. So my final depth of cut is going to be 0.23. I'm going to go 0.125, make a pass, and then bring it down to that final depth. Okay, I think things look good here. I wanted to check my my cut here for my bolt, and that's good. I can see where parts of this cut I went through, and parts where I did not. So I'm going to take it off my grid. I think that I'm good to go here now. And the one thing I will tell you is that when I got to this point right here, with this board in place, it didn't have enough markers. So all I had to do was just move it out of the way and off to the side, and I could finish this cut. It was only about maybe 3/4 to an inch, so no big deal. Oh, I definitely had enough tape. You can see, yeah, I just never touched the board, which is good. This will easily be sanded. Let's see how much was left there. Not a lot. I probably won't even have to sand all that much. But that's the variation in the thickness of ply, I think. That's coming into play there. So I was able to salvage this piece, which I'm happy about. I'm just breaking these edges over. Just a little bit thicker in some spots. So this is the front, and the back is the side that's got the clean cut on it. All right, let me get things cleaned up here. Yeah, that's going to be nice. So this was my only waste, was this right here, you know. Not bad being able to do it the way I did it, instead of cutting it out of, you know, granted you could cut it out of a big sheet and not go through all the trouble I did, but I think it was worth it rather than having to get rid of this. Just this one piece of tape, you can see where the cutter just barely grazed it. But it did not touch my cutting board, I guess I can call it, my tape board. Okay, so I was debating the other day which hardware to go with, and I ended up going with the bolt because I can cut the recess and this won't spin as you tighten it. So put this on there, and there we go. So this will be my way of clamping the iPad in place. And then I was going to cut this, I was going to put a round edge on this, but I decided to glue this in place, and then I will just sand this. This comes up nearly to the top, but I'll just feather that in to meet this edge, to meet that profile. So that's what I'll end up doing next here, is gluing it up. And then we'll come back and take a look at the final product. Okay, here's what I plan on doing. I'm going to put this piece in place and glue it flush. Then I will bring my iPad in, and it's this dimension. I sized it just a hair small because I was trying to measure with this thing in place. Things are moving around. But anyway, I could do one of two things. I could widen this a little bit, or take it off the outside edge, and I think that's what I'll end up doing. Is it's just a fraction. So first things first, I'm going to glue this in place, flush to the bottom. Then I'll come back and place the other ones with my iPad as a guide. Well, there she is, all prettied up. One thing I had to do, I think I mentioned this, is I I trimmed these back just ever so slightly before I glued it up. And then when everything was set, I took just like a business card pass, I'll call it. I got my cross-cut sled set where I wanted it. It just barely skimmed the surface, or just barely touched it. Slipped the business card in between my stop and the edge of this, and then made a pass, and that just cleaned everything right up, flushed it up really nice. Did the same thing on this edge. So you can see here that that's looking really nice. So this is the front, obviously, and then here's the back where you can see that recess for the bolt. My bolt is right here, and so I cut that to hold it, to keep it from spinning. And it's a little too deep, but that's okay. You don't see it anyway. But let me slide the iPad in here and show you how this thing looks here. There you go, that's locked in. That is not gonna move. And on the back side, you can see I've got access to the camera here. Front side camera, power button, the switches up here, power. So it looks good. I like the way it turned out. So the next thing to do, and I've forgotten about this, is I need to create a way to mount this to a tripod. So okay, I'm just going to create a right angle bracket here that'll mount on the back side. I think I'm going to mount it with screws. But you can see that I located my T-nut in the center of this block. And then the right angle piece I want to put on top this way instead of this way, because I want to have more room to drill or whatever I'm going to do to this. I haven't quite decided yet. At any rate, I want to install this first. So I'm just going to, I use my T-nut installation method there where I countersunk it, and then drilled some small holes for the prongs, and I can just about push it flush. But now I'm going to draw it in, and I want to make sure that this threaded portion is almost right to that, almost flush to this surface. So if I need to, I'll back it out again and drill my countersunk hole a little bit deeper. But let me pull this tight with a bolt and a washer, and I'll be right back. We'll see how it looks. Alright, that works for me. It's just about maybe one thread below the surface. I tried it on my tripod, and it catches enough, and it sucks it down nice and tight to that the mount on the tripod. So that should be good. Alright, I haven't reinforced this with dowels yet, but the glue is set, and I just put 2 machine screws in here, and I should be able to, there we go. So that'll go like that, and then I can use these little brass thumb nuts here to tighten it to this base. That's a nice solid fitting, and then this can get attached to my tripod, my other tripod that I had for a long time sitting in storage. So I'll pull this off, turn it around, and show you what's going on this side here. So you can see these screws are just countersunk just enough to get below the surface. I'm even considering kind of buffing those a little bit, but there's only about half the thickness of this MDF between the flat of the screw and the back side here. But with the mass of this behind it, I don't envision that those screws would pop out of there. So I'm pretty confident that it'll stay together for me and not come apart, or not break apart, I should say. I think you'd have to whack it pretty hard for that to come apart. Okay, so here it is. It works really well. You know, it's nice and solid. I still have got to reinforce that block. I'll do that. But one thing I can tell you is that you cannot, and you can't reverse the camera now either. You can't zoom in when it's facing this direction. So I've got to stop it, flip it. Now I can zoom, start recording again. And now I'm taking video of the camera with this camera. Now I can zoom in and out. Tilt it up maybe a little. I knew there was a reason I didn't like this tripod. Oh, there we go. So that'll be nice to be able to have a second camera taking video maybe from a couple of different angles. All right. Thanks for watching.